Well, good morning and happy Thursday, everybody. Hope your week has been going well. I want to remind everybody that this Saturday is our Fall Fest here at First Baptist Church from 3 to 5 in the afternoon. All kinds of games and activities for the kids, food trucks. We also have our annual trunk or treat as part of Fall Fest. So you come out and just have a great time. Bring some guests with you. Great opportunity to invite some other young families in the neighborhood to come with you, and be praying for connections to be made. We're going to be giving away gospel tracts and other literature that will help people know about Jesus. It's going to be a lot of fun. So you pray and you come this Saturday afternoon from 3 to 5 in the parking lot here at First Baptist Church. This morning, we are in Ecclesiastes chapter 4. It's not a long chapter, but it's an interesting chapter because he seems to bounce back and forth in this chapter, or at least this is how I felt when I read it, between some ideas and words that are, well, I don't know if I want to say depressing, but man, they're not real encouraging or upbeat. And then all of a sudden, here's something that's just beautiful and encouraging and true. And it's almost like a roller coaster ride. That's how I felt when I read this chapter. And in some ways, you know this, you figured this out. Ecclesiastes, man, it is a unique book in the Bible. Maybe the most philosophical book in the Bible. What stood out to me personally, and there were different verses that did, but one that really stood out to me and spoke to me is verse 1. So let's read it. He says, "Then I looked," I'm observing, Solomon says, "I looked again at all the acts of oppression which were being done under the sun here on earth. And behold, I saw the tears of the oppressed, and that they had no one to comfort them. And on the side of their oppressors was power." They had the government, the money, the military, whatever. But they had no one to comfort them. And that verse resonated. I would encourage you to go back and read it very slowly and maybe just meditate, ponder on this one verse. He says, I looked. Solomon is being philosophical. He's observing. He's paying attention. He's thinking about what he sees. And through his human eyes, what he sees are a lot of acts of oppression, where the people with the upper hand, with the connections, with the power, with the government behind them, with the resources, whatever it is, oppress other people. And he says, I saw that, but I also saw the tears of those who were oppressed, which speaks of their pain. And he says twice, there was no one to comfort them, no one who changed that reality, he says. And I think those phrases are powerful if we don't rush through them. All of you know from reading the prophets with us in our Bible reading plan and other parts of the Bible that, man, the Bible talks a lot about the vulnerable, the weak, the stranger, the immigrant, the poor, the powerless. Truthfully, more than most of us like to think about it. And God, draws all of us to care about different needs in life and in culture. And over the years of my adulthood and my ministry, I think God has just kept pulling and calling and pushing me to see the tears of our African American citizens in America. To feel, to see, to understand their tears. And in full transparency, I'm not convinced that most of us have really tried to do that. to feel it, to really feel it, to really see it, to really understand it. I think we glance at it rather than looking at it. We glance at it and then we rush on. We glance at it and we make excuses. We glance at it and we self-justify. We don't see it. We don't feel it. We don't grasp it. We don't understand it. And so notice what Solomon said. Then I looked again. You see, if when I talk about this, your first reaction is to say, yeah, but you're probably not looking at it. You're just glancing at it. Because glancing at that kind of stuff can be hard. Really hard. And the hard things, well, they're hard to do. The easier thing is to glance and go on. But I think God calls us to see. You know, Jesus looked out and saw the lost and felt compassion. In fact, in the Gospels, the Greek says, when he looked out there and saw them like sheep without a shepherd, that it gripped him in his gut is the literal translation. I mean, it just tore him up on the inside. That means he felt. Have you had seasons in life when you actually felt the pain that led to the tears of those who were oppressed? Because otherwise, you're glancing. You're not looking. But see, I think looking is how we learn to love. Now, on a more cheerful note, one last verse that spoke to me very briefly is verse 13, where he said, a poor yet wise lad. Now, read the verses before and you'll get a better picture of this. But a poor yet wise lad is better than an old and foolish king who no longer knows how to receive instruction. He's saying someone who is poor and young, but wise, in God's eyes, 1,000 times better than someone successful, powerful, and rich who is no longer teachable. No matter our age, no matter our success, we should be teachable. And by the way, tie that back into what I said about verse 1. And if you're not teachable when it comes to understanding groups other than you, I'm just saying. Tomorrow, as we wrap up this week, we jump ahead over to chapter 9. I'll see you then.